All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Chris.
Here.
Nancy.
Here.
Otis.
Here.
Sally.
Present.
Thor. Dave. Here. And Richard.
Here. Okay, do we have any amendments to the agenda for today's meeting? Is there a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do we have any amendments to the minutes from the last meeting?
Just one thing, just a correction for spelling on line of the fourth entry, minutes.
Okay. Any other corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do we have any public comments on matters not appearing on the public hearing or consent calendar, but are within the borough's jurisdiction? Hearing none, we'll move on. There's nothing on the consent calendar. Public hearing items. We have approval of the 2019 meeting calendar. And we're just sticking with the second Tuesday at noon. Okay? Good, because that's what I already put in my calendar. Anybody have any problems with that?
Can't tell now.
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the calendar.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We need to have a continuation of the discussion for the definition of automobile repair services major. I put together just some ones I found out on the web of some different definitions, and then based on that, I kind of threw together some ideas of what minor and major would be. It seems that most places, what they do is they define minor and then say major is anything not defined in minor. So that's kind of what I worked on, but I'm open to suggestions on what I've got typed up here, so.
Is this working on your own car or?
This is if somebody wants to do this as a home-based occupation.
Okay. So you can go ahead and do whatever repairs you want.
On your own car, Liz, that's pretty much anything goes.
Yeah.
As long as your neighbors don't complain.
Well, even if they do, I mean,
Grinding and
there's not going to be a lot we
welding.
can do about it.
Yeah.
Do you have extra copies of
Yes, I
whatever
do.
you have?
If you, I can bring you one.
Yeah, I really like what you put together here.
This is the first page, some definitions I found on the web.
I mean, we kind of all thought this, but it's nice to see it in writing.
Yeah. And this all seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah. Karen, do you want another copy?
Yes, please.
Got a whole stack of them here, so. Yeah. There you go. So. I could email it to Dave potentially, if he wants to look at it. Dave?
Dave, you still there?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, no, you could email it to me, I could get it. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just trying to find your email address in here.
Yeah, it's ShalanProduce@gmail.com.
There we go. Okay, I sent it off to you.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
What would the tire service be under? I don't see that on either.
The reason I didn't put tire service under minor is because it requires a tire machine, and that's going to make a lot of noise. And so that would probably fall under major, because that would be under major auto repair or any work that requires removal of engine, transmission, or other major component of the vehicle, or requires large specialty auto repair equipment, which is what that would fall under. So, I mean, kind of the idea was auto repair minor is things you can do with hand tools. So,
Hey, Chris, I probably missed this, but why are we talking about this right now? This isn't for a home occupation business, is it?
this is for home occupation. This is because we didn't have a definition in the zoning code we sent to the Borough Assembly. The attorney says we need to have a definition for auto repair major and minor, and boat repair major and minor. Mostly major, because we use the word major, we didn't use minor, but kind of the way it works is it's easier to say, okay, this is what's allowed under minor, and anything that's not listed under minor is not allowed, is major. So,
Okay.
I noticed that in here, they said it's got to be in the garage or something.
yeah, I put that in all of this, is all work must be conducted within a closed garage space. For minor. And then major, that's one of the things for, like, boat repair major is anything that can't be accomplished within an enclosed facility. So, will fall under major.
I'm thinking that makes sense for small lots, but it might be a little stretch for big lots,
What do you mean for?
for requiring an enclosed garage space.
Well, it's, if you're going to, for small, minor repair is supposed to be for,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
allowing.
I'm talking about the requirement for inside a garage space.
Yeah.
But on a bigger lot, I don't see that making as big a
Well,
deal.
You know, they're allowed a bigger garage on a bigger lot.
Yeah, but not everybody has a big garage on a big lot.
Yeah. But it's not,
So my understanding is, if somebody had a unique situation, they could come to us and apply for a variance. We could do that on a case-by-case basis, correct?
Liz, there could be a variance on a case-by-case basis? That was Dave's question.
What's the variance request?
Well, if there was something that didn't quite fit under the way these definitions are written, there could be a change made by a variance, is what Dave's asking.
It depends. If you're saying something that would constitute major, in your
Yeah.
definition, that's prohibited, so we wouldn't offer a variance
Yeah.
for that.
Okay.
So we would never variance allowing something that's not allowed.
Yeah. And I mean, this is considering for home-based occupation. It's not considering for industrial. So if somebody's doing something that's major repair, they're probably going to need to be on industrial property, is what we're
What
saying.
about, minor repair on
Yeah.
heavy equipment? Like, you have auto, but do you mean like, can you bring in, a container van or something and
Yeah, well,
your
we-
garage and change the oil on it?
Yeah, or an oil
Yeah.
change on an RV.
Yeah. Or something.
Well, the thing is, can you fit that inside an enclosed garage?
Well, you can, considering how you've changed the accessory structure sizes and
Yeah.
also the sizes of what's allowed under a home occupation, because if you have a big enough lot, you could. Right?
Yeah.
Because you've added on where it used to be 525, but now we've increased it for every, you know.
Every half acre, yeah,
Yeah,
they can
so-
make it larger.
So you have, you know, services, but you don't really limit the type of vehicle that we're talking about. I don't know if you want to, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying someone could pull in a big truck or a big boat, and I'm just changing the oil,
Yeah,
and then pull that into the, you know, yard, and then pull in the next big boat or truck,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, we know what happens, because it always happens, so.
yeah, well,
Almost always.
yeah,
And I'm not 100% sure of our ability to enforce this as it is, but because we're not going to be standing there watching what they do or don't do.
yeah.
And I guess we aren't limiting guy bringing his skiff home and working on the yard.
If it's their own personal skiff,
Yeah.
there's no limitations on that. It's just on, yes, Dave,
Yeah, my understanding is this is somebody that's doing this as a business.
right,
Yeah.
Okay. So they're not charging people money.
right.
Okay.
And I mean,
Like if I wanted to work on my neighbor had a Jeff and I wanted to work on his motor, and I wasn't charging him anything for it, this would have precluded me from doing that.
No.
This is only preventing somebody that's living in a residential subdivision from starting up essentially a commercial repair business in that subdivision.
yeah, they could, the idea of this is just minor repairs could be done, not major.
Okay. I like the part about it has to be inside.
Yeah, I think that fits with what we're trying to say, is it's got to be contained, and if somebody wants to see if there's better wording that we can use there, I'm open to suggestions, so.
What about if you're not actively working at that time? Can you just keep it out on your yard while you're waiting for parts and stuff and put another work in? Because that's what ends up happening is, you know, they end up littering the street,
Yeah,
and there's parking on the street.
but we can say all work or vehicles or vessels must be contained within the closed garage, and they can only have, I mean, the idea is to limit this to, you know, small operation. It's not, to say you can open up an auto repair, a full-scale auto repair, it's just minor repairs can be done.
And wouldn't, under the conditional use permit for the home occupation, wouldn't you be?
There's no
not
conditional
doing-
use
we're not
permit
doing that,
anymore.
Yeah.
So it's part of the regulation, that's why we have to have a definition of what can be allowed and such.
And I would change it to all vehicles must be worked on and stored within a closed garage space. So you don't-
All work, instead of all work must be conducted, all vehicles or vessels,
Vehicles includes vessels.
yeah.
I think that's a little too restrictive. I'd like to see more of a number limit of vehicles that can be stored on.
Well, you're only talking 525 feet.
Yeah, it's going to be limited anyway. The idea of this is, it's more of they pick up one vehicle, bring it in, do the work on it, and return that vehicle and pick up another vehicle and bring it in. It's not something where they're going to have a bunch of vehicles parked there, is the whole idea behind it. It's to
Yeah.
allow somebody to be able to do something part-time, not necessarily running a full-time operation.
Yeah, we talked about part replacement though, and oftentimes you tear
Yeah.
into what is a normal, simple
Yeah.
job, and then now you gotta wait 2 weeks for parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it possible with, you know, no more than 3 clients' vehicles can be there at a time or something? I mean, I don't, it's a hard one to say, a number.
Yeah.
I would say if you're gonna work on vehicles, and it's not part-time in nature, you know, then maybe you need to look at a piece of commercial property if you're gonna be doing it. Otherwise, you gotta have this stuff out of sight, out of the hair of your neighbors.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just letting people do commercial business
Right.
in a residential setting.
And this is one of the more nuisance type things that somebody could do.
Yeah, and that's the idea, is to allow some degree of it, but it has to be where it's not going to be an issue to the neighbors.
It actually already says that there's no exterior storage allowed
Yeah,
of materials or equipment, so
So there's a done deal.
yeah, so this
I don't
is,
think I would probably take out that part about all work must be conducted within a closed garage space.
because it's redundant, so we don't need that.
Redundant. And then it
Okay.
opens up the question about storage, which
Yeah.
is already addressed elsewhere anyway.
Okay, well, we can strike that line, that's no problem.
That was the only thing on here that I had any remote amount of heartburn about. The rest of it, I
Yeah.
think, is great. Thank you.
I do too. Thank you for your hard work.
No problem.
Okay, everyone's on board?
I think so, what do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Yeah, like I said, I particularly like the part that everything has to be inside.
Well, Liz is saying that's redundant because it's already in the code that it has to be inside.
Yes, I understand.
So, yeah,
So now this will go to the attorney?
Yeah, and then the assembly, yeah.
Cool.
so,
Okay, thanks.
we need to vote on that, or?
No?
Okay.
As long as you guys are all...
Yep.
We're happy.
All right. Any commissioner comments? Any other commissioner comments? Hearing none, let's go on to staff comments.
It's actually not going to do the training that's listed on here, because there's a technical problem on the other end of the, not us, but the other end. So we're actually picking up a different one, which is put out by the American Planning Association, and it's planning commission training. And the first one is holding effective meetings, and the other second one, or each half an hour, is about making good decisions. So since we had such a light agenda, it kind of worked out to be able to sneak us in. Sorry, Nico.
Hello, I'm Michael Blue. I'm here with Sam Popovich from the Village
Sorry,
and
Sally.
Representatives. We're going to talk about how to run an executive commission meeting. So, Dan, thank you for coming. Thanks, Michael. If we could get you to maybe tell us to kick off, why is it important to run a good meeting? And maybe you've got an example of a meeting that maybe didn't run so well that could kind of help us understand that.
I think we've all been in a meeting where we have a lot of public members come, and the meetings can drag on as member after member of the public speak about the same topic. It becomes repetitive, and I think it's really important to have a strong chairperson and council members or commission members that's an hour in a meeting and moving along and make sure that everybody has an opportunity to be heard while still getting through the meeting.
Absolutely. And just to be clear that we're talking about, what's the difference between a public hearing and a public meeting? Is there a difference?
There's a difference, Michael. Public meeting is whenever a quorum of the public body is present, but the public may not be invited to participate. A public hearing invites the public to participate, and there's a specific time that they can participate in a public hearing.
Okay, so it's possible that a public hearing could be part of a public meeting?
That's correct.
Okay, so there could be some overlap.
Yes, there is.
Okay. So every meeting, or meeting I've been to, has got some sort of agenda, right? It gets posted ahead of time and so on and so forth. Where does that agenda come from? Is that something that the staff creates, something that gets created by the chair of the commission? How do you put together an agenda?
The staff creates the agenda. It's based on applications that come into staff, and typically it's on a first-come, first-served basis. Staff looks at the agenda and tries to make sure that there's not too many items on the agenda. We try to anticipate potential items that could be controversial or might have an interested neighborhood there that we would anticipate a lot of people coming out. If we do see an agenda that seems to be a little more crowded, we talk to the Planning Commission chairman to have their ideas about which items should be on the agenda and which items should not be on the agenda for a specific meeting.
So is there a case where an applicant may want to be on an agenda, but you decide, no, you know what, this isn't the right meeting, and then you have to tell them, you're going to have to wait a couple of weeks, and have you ever done that, and how does that go?
Of course, we always do. We always tell people, it's important to tell people when they apply, that this is the meeting we're aiming for, but inevitably, something may come up. If you're third in line, we have 2 other cases that are in line, and we just know that these other cases are going to be long into the night. We don't want to start a meeting in the evening and go to late in the hours when people have to go to work the next day. We want to make sure that the neighbors and the community have an opportunity to speak as well, without running the meeting too long.
So, as a plan commissioner, or as a staff member working with plan commissioners, what's the commissioner's responsibility regarding the hearing? And also, too, how is the chairperson's role different from the other commissioners?
I'll start with the chairperson, because that's probably the most important member on the commission, I think. Chairperson really needs to set and run the meeting and preserve decorum. We've all probably been in the meetings where the public starts clapping about one item or another, and I think that really could, in essence, hinder somebody with a different opinion come up. So it's important for the chairperson to set that meeting, set some ground rules. The chairperson also runs the meeting via Robert's Rules of Order, and then he ensures that deliberation occurs, that there's discussion, that we talk about the standards there as well. Now, while he can't vote, or while he can't make a motion, he can vote and he can break ties as well. The commission members, it's important that they support the chairman in their role of setting the expectations from the public and when they can, and how they speak and their decorum with the meeting. They're there to listen to testimony, to ask questions of staff, the public, and also the applicant as well, and to base their opinion and their findings of the case on the testimony that's provided, based on the standards that are provided by staff, or the zoning ordinance, or whatever ordinance is applicable at that point. And then they can also make and second motions.
So we've only just started to dive into the runnings of a meeting, but it already sounds kind of complicated. And if I'm a resident sitting in the audience, I may not know what's going to go on. Is there value, or do you have an introduction or something that gets read at the beginning that says, here's what's going to happen?
Yes, I think that's very important to have that at the beginning of all public hearings. Because like you did mention, there's a lot of people that this might be their first time coming to a planning commission meeting, or zoning board of appeals meeting, and so it's very important that the chairperson lays out sort of the order that things go into so people understand that, and also to allow people and tell people when they have an opportunity to speak. So there's generally a specific point in time where the public's afforded an opportunity to speak, and that's a great time for them to know that, okay, I'm going to be the third or fourth opportunity to speak here, and these other people are going to go before me.
So is there a general order to a typical planning commission?
Yeah, there's a typical meeting order to it. We generally call to order the meeting, the chairperson will call it order the meeting, explain the rules and how the meeting's going to work, let people know where information can be found, whether it's on the side of the council chambers or the chambers, and if it's online, if they can find it where they can, so if they're going to follow along with the meeting. Then they generally review minutes, and then they go into the agenda portion of the meeting, where they will open a public hearing or a specific case that we're talking about in the evening, swearing the audience members. So I like to have staff give a presentation to present the case there and to explain the standards that are required to be met. The applicant then typically presents, and at this point, the planning commission or whatever commission is can ask the applicant questions. And then it's open to the public, where the public can ask questions or make comments about the petition and the application. At that point, after that's all done and the questions have been asked, the commission members will typically ask any questions back to the applicant themselves. So if the public had questions, this is an opportunity to get those answers.
Yeah.
The applicant, or if there's clarification that staff has to provide. Generally, the public hearing is then closed, so there's no more public comment at that point. And then the board deliberates, and they look at the standards and they discuss it throughout. Each member has an opportunity to speak at that point and discuss the meeting. The board typically make a motion, and then the hearing will be closed, and then we always like to have the commission, the chairperson, tell the public what the next steps are in the meeting. So if that was the final decision, or if there's an additional opportunity for them to comment at a village council meeting, for example.
So if not all the information is available or there's no discussion, is it possible for the meeting to be continued to another meeting where there needs to be more opportunity for input or information answered? And how do the residents know that they can come back to that meeting?
Of course. So if there's ever an opportunity where more information is needed, or there's questions that are raised that need to be answered, the Plan Commission or whatever board can continue the meeting, but it's typically continued to a date certain, so typically the next meeting on the agenda, or the next meeting on the calendar. And then what we like to do is we tell people to check the website or to contact staff to see if there's any changes to the agenda, if the items being pushed back even further.
Okay, so there's plenty of opportunity for everybody to know what's coming up next.
There are. I like to have people contact staff to stay informed if they need to, or to check websites.
Okay, that's great, and I think that's an important message in general, is that staff is a resource to everybody involved in this process of a smooth meeting. The commission, the applicants, and also the residents.
Right, staff is definitely working for all three folks, for the commission members, for the applicant, and for the public. It's a public hearing, it's open to the public, we want to keep everybody informed, we want to make sure that people have an opportunity to speak.
So as part of the meeting process that you...
I feel like I'm streaming a movie.
You said staff does a presentation on the case. And so doesn't it sometimes seem like
Is that really tiny, or is it just an angle?
What's tiny?
The guy versus the compared to the big guy?
Nothing, they're both,
Must be my angle.
Yeah.
it's his angle too, is more straight than sideways.
Is that, the guy looks about this big?
Oh, no.
Apple-
That's what your angle. Worked perfectly earlier too. Of course, totally.
It's
I
'cause-
watched the whole thing.
It's 'cause you forgot the
I didn't stop
popcorn.
once. You really watch it? Yeah, I guess I can go around. Yeah, I did watch it. Not Joe, but I did.
Well, while we're waiting, I could invite everybody to the pickle herring contest Wednesday night at 7 at the Sons of Norway. We eat all the entries.
That's gonna be the judge.
That's men's night out at the hardware store.
So we're at 7.
Taking you away.
This is still being recorded.
That's
all
great.
right.
I think that's an important message in general.
There we
that
go.
Staff is a resource to everybody involved in this process of a smooth meeting. The commission, the applicants, and also the residents.
Right, staff is definitely working for all three folks, for the commission members, for the applicant, and for the public. It's a public hearing, it's open to the public, we want to keep everybody informed, we want to make sure that people have an opportunity to speak.
So as part of the meeting process that you mentioned, you said staff does a presentation on the case. And so doesn't it sometimes seem like the staff is just up there making the pitch for the applicant, but they're just telling somebody else's story? Why does...
Everybody's streaming the same video at once.
Crash this.
That good.
So I got the office, the internet's fast until about 8:30 when everybody
I
shows
think
up.
Joe keeps on patching something over there.
Give this back.
I do most of my ordering at 3 a.m.
I gave up this morning and went home. I worked from home.
Aaron, do we want to adjourn the meeting to watch this, or do we? Okay. That'd be Colin or Chris. Chris, do you want to adjourn the meeting and watch this after, or does Karen still have to report all this silence, or lack of silence, I guess, from us talking?
Do we want to adjourn the meeting? Karen?
That's how I call it.
Yeah. Liz?
You guys. It's up to you guys.
We can adjourn the meeting, then we're not recording all this.
Yeah, I'm not saying.
We have a
leave.
motion, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.